Hello everyone, I'm Sara Calandra. I'm a PhD student at University of Florence. Today I'm glad to present you the study monitoring and evaluation of Pietra Serena decay, adopting NDT techniques, application on building stones in situ. This study was born from some corbels placed below balconies fell in Florentine area. It is important to remember the visitor died in Santa Croce Basilica in October 2017 for dropping the ceiling of the stone corbel. To avoid damaging the cultural heritage and to protect people's safety, the Department of Earth Science, University of Florence, has developed a new diagnostic approach adopting fast, inexpensive, and reliable techniques. The diagnostic project includes the ultrasonic and Schmidt harmonic tests, non-destructive techniques used to investigate the state of conservation of the stone. This approach focuses on measurement carried out on Pietra Serena sandstone corbels of balconies belonging to historical buildings in Florence, and it is supported by laboratory studies as mineropetrographic analysis. Pietra Serena is a Florentine sandstone used in historical buildings in the Renaissance period and also in 19th century, mainly for the balconies construction. Pietra Serena is a commercial artistic name of Florentine sandstone. It is distinguished by its typical color blue-gray, characterizing the architectural buildings of Florence, employed for building stone and ornamental works. Pietra Serena belongs to the Macigno-Monte Modino formations, outcropping in the northern Apennines. Pietra Serena can be described as a medium coarse granitic arkose with prevailing clay matrix. However, on the years, the closure of the ancient words and the request for Pietra Serena has evolved to use other sandstones warriors belonging to the different geological formations. The water, like rainwater and air humidity, involves a fundamental role in the Pietra Serena decay, producing volumetric expansion of the clay minerals and the matrix, removing the clay minerals and consequent decohesion of grains, exfoliation up to contour scaling and material detachment. And again, water acts by dissolution the calcite cement, growing the stone porosity and with formation of crusts in the external surface during the precipitation phase of calcite. Another decay phenomenon is always due to the water absorption that involves decreases in the characteristics of the original stone and significant increase the initial porosity. The sudden change in temperature leads to cracking and weakening of the areas. Property changes of the material produced by decay, as for corbels, make the material less suitable to perform the structural function of over time. Analysis on Pietra Serena corbels from 5 Florentine buildings were performed to implement the investigation protocol aimed to evaluate the decay and mechanical properties of decorative and functional elements on time. The 5 case studies represent important historical buildings and churches. Pucci-Sansedoni Palace, indicated as PS, Rimbotti Palace, indicated as RP, Badia Fiesolana Monastery, BF, Salone delle Feste Palace, SF, and an historical civil building, HB. Their position is located in the map. Corbels investigated of Pucci-Sansedoni Palace are in two balconies. The first is in a poor state of conservation and characterized by intense decay, numerous cracks, exfoliation, and advanced decoration. Structural problems generate the corbel fall in 2020. The second are composed by restored corbels in poor medium state of conservation. The corbels at the edge of the balcony have more decay. The balconies of Rimbotti Palace are composed by restored corbels in a good state of conservation. Surface cracks, delamination, and missing parts are lightly present. The corbels of Badia Fiesolana monastery are in advanced state of degradation. Some elements have localized problems that could lead to detachments and falls of material. The corbels of Salone delle Feste Palace are of two different types, original belonging to the first construction phase that occur in poor condition and replacement characterized by slight delamination and microcracking. The historical civil building presents corbels in eaves. It is reported that in 2021 two corbels fell. These elements are characterized by fracture, highlighting structural problems of facade eaves, and the stone is interested by slight erosion and crust. After the visual description of decay, the mechanical characterization was carried out on each corbel using NDT methods in situ. Schmidt-Armour test was used for estimating the mechanical properties of many different rock types and for assessing the quality of the surfaces of stone elements. From the rebound value R, it is possible to obtain the evaluation of the surface hardness of the material. Ultrasonic test makes it possible to detect cracks and other discontinuities, clarifying the level of damage. The ultrasonic velocity values Vp are related to the mechanical properties of the stone, such as elasticity, density, and porosity. The measurements were performed in direct transmission mode. On each corbel was analyzed in the inner, center, and outermost portions to verify the uniformity of the entire element. The ultrasonic and Schmidt-Armour tests were performed at the same point of the surface, making a reproducible scheme of measure. Furthermore, mineropetrographic observations on polarized light microscopy were made in laboratory to investigate the sandstone decay and stone characteristics. Mechanical results are reported in figures showing the correlation between Vp and R values. In table, the main values of Vp and R of Pucci-Sansedoni corbels compared with freshly cut Pietra Serena. In figure, the corbel sampled is in blue in order to compare the results of NDTs and mineropetrographic observation. The Vp and R values recorded show that the stone has poor internal mechanical characteristics. From mineropetrographic observations, the stone occurs a poor state of conservation, showing a low amount of the clayey matrix and microsporitic calcite cement. Several fractures and intergranular porosities are present. The sandstone shows classic granules of medium size, mainly constituted by quartz feldspar, fragments of magmatic and metamorphic stones, beside muscovite and biotite in lower amount. The PS corbel shows low values of Vp and R, and in fact in thin section it has high macroporosity and a low content of calcite. The values of Vp and R of Rimbotti Palace corbels indicate good level of compactness and adhesion of stone materials. The maximum values of the two measures correspond to the corbel with the lowest level of degradation, while the minimum to the corbel with higher decay. The mineral petrographic observation shows little presence of clay matrix, a higher amount of microsphaeritic calcite cement, and a consequent higher compactness. The classic granules are of homogeneous size, mainly constituted by same components. The lithotype of RP samples is characterized by higher Vp and R values. In fact, in thin section, it has lower macroporosity and a higher content of calcite cement than the previous sample. The values of Vp and R of Badia Fiesolana corbels indicate medium decay, with many corbels that produce low values. The minimum values are characteristic of corbel that shows numerous cracks, exfoliation, and advanced decohesion. BF sample shows intermediate mineral petrographic and mechanical characteristic between PS and RP sample. The replacement and original corbels were analyzed. The sandstone used for substitution campaign shows a higher amount of microsphaeritic calcite cement, unlike original sandstone that has a lower amount. Nevertheless, both sandstones have medium high porosity. The Vp and R values indicate lower mechanical properties and poor state of conservation in both replacement and original samples. However, the higher values of replacement corbels is probably due to the high amount of calcite cement. The Vp and R values recorded of historic civil building corbels indicate stone with good mechanical properties. From mineral petrographic observation, the stone presents similar characteristic of RP sample, a higher amount of calcite and a lower porosity, which makes the rock compact. The distribution reported in Salvatici et al. Are implemented with the new case studies. The low Vp and R values are contained in the red cluster, associated to poor state of conservation, low mechanical properties, and to presence of wetness zone of the stone. Fall into the red area the corbels of Pucci-Sansedoni Palace, Salone delle Feste Palace, and one corbel of Badia Fiesolana. The quality of Pietra Serena corbels was provided by calculating the velocity ratio index. In conclusion, this study proposes a protocol to identify the decay state of Pietra Serena using NDT techniques in order to implement a specific database able to distinguish the risk degree of felling of corbels, where it is not always possible to take sufficient samples. Comparing the NDT's results with mineral petrographic observation, it was possible to identify the level of decay of 5 case studies belonging to Florentine historical palace and to observe a good correlation between the two techniques employed in situ and in laboratory. Thank you for your kind attention.